in 2001. So I came to teaching with a political analysis of what I wanted to do. But it took me a while to get my ass in gear and sign up with TAG. And I will not ever forget that conversation that Anissa and I had at Liberty Choice Diner. Ron Whitehorn was riding me for almost 5 years to get involved with TAG. He said, you gotta talk to this chick Anissa, you gotta talk to Anissa, you gotta talk to Anissa. So I finally sat down and I said, okay, I'm ready, let's go. So that's my personal story into TAG, and I think it was 2010. So I was 1 year late to the bandwagon, but I was in Philly teaching. I'm gonna talk about the birth of the Caucus of the Working Educators, which, which I liked what Chris said, the rhythm of the revolutionary struggle. I feel like we are carrying on the rhythm of that revolutionary struggle. So the caucus was officially launched in March of 2014 on Pi Day. If you are a math teacher, 314. Yeah. Okay. So we are now 5 years old. But the story actually starts way back in 2009 with the formation of TAG. I'm not going to rehash what you've already said. But for 5 years prior to the launching of the caucus, this is really important that people understand that the caucus was a project of TAG, that it wasn't just a couple individuals who decided to do something, it was an organizational decision within TAG. So we had been organizing around issues that you've all heard about. We were developing ourselves as leaders, we were waging campaigns, we were building relationships with other organizations across the city and the state and the nation, like Anissa said, that share our values and our vision. And TAG members attended conferences and built relationships with folks across, like Anissa talked about, Minneapolis, also Chicago, other places. And after Chicago launched their caucus, the Caucus of Rank and File Educators, CORE, after they challenged, give it up to CORE, yes. So after they challenged their union's leadership and took the reins of the great CTU, they began to bring like-minded folks together from across the country at gatherings. They didn't even call them conferences just then, they were gatherings. So essentially what they were doing was sowing the seeds of revolution within the rank and file of teachers' unions across the country, and TAG members were there. I think, who went to the original? It was Anissa and Larissa and Hanako? I don't know. In Chicago, yes. So, and of course we're also here in Philly meeting on a regular basis with the PFT leadership. So a lot of people don't know that before the caucus was formed, we actually were organizing as the organizing committee of TAG, meeting on a regular basis with the PFT leadership, doing our best to move the union from the inside out through rank and file organizing. Well, here's how that went. So we were trying to push the PFT to use its mighty resources, its mighty resources, to wage grassroots campaigns around school funding, layoffs, cutbacks, everything you just heard about, school closures, everything that also still exists today to threaten the very existence of public education. But every single time we took an organizing proposal to the PFT leadership, there was a bureaucratic wet blanket just thrown over it, every single time. We have to wait to get Jerry's approval on this, so no. Well, we don't have enough time because we're waiting to hear from our lawyers, so no. Or there's not enough time to do that, so no. And then there's, not to mention the fact that we couldn't even communicate with them because they couldn't put stuff in emails, and of course you couldn't actually get their cell phone numbers. So it was like complete, you all know that? I mean, if you're a PFT member and you have tried to communicate with staffer, they wouldn't give you their freaking cell phone numbers. It makes no sense. So anyway, so from the big nose to the little nose, we were just met with like one bureaucratic wet blanket after the other. So we felt deflated and de-energized and discouraged, like all the wind had just got sucked out of our sails. And finally we said, okay, enough is enough. We turned to our friends in Chicago and said, come help us learn how to build a caucus. And they did. They came on March 1st and 2nd in 2014. We did a little underground boot camp. There were 27 of us in the room. Raise your hand if you were in the room. I know many of us are still around, but we were in that room and we decided to go ahead and build a caucus. We thought we were making a 6-month organizing plan going into this boot camp. Turns out we came out 2 weeks later. So we launched the Caucus of Working Educators 2 weeks later, and ever since then we've been organizing, doing the good work, building leaders, educating ourselves. And we will finally be able to turn our vision into a reality when we win leadership of the PFT next year. elected in 2020, and then we're going to hear a little bit more about how we're going to change the Philadelphia landscape.